My name is Toufic and I am the owner of Meraki Merchants here in Parramatta, and I'm a Lebanese Australian-born Muslim.
My name is Joanne. I'm the Aboriginal Immunisation Officer here with Public Health, and my background is Aboriginal from Kamilaroi tribe in Narrabri.
My name is Hina. I kind of feel like I have a few different cultures. My parents are from Pakistan, but I was born in Australia, so I kind of feel like myself as like a Sydney sider / Pakistani person.
My name is Marikit Santiago. I'm Filipino with Australian nationality. My practice revolves around the negotiation of these two cultures.
My name is Achwat Ashok. I come from South Sudan and my tribe is Dinka.
I think there are different ways to feel when someone asks about your culture. Sometimes it feels like it's from a well-meaning place, and sometimes it feels like the purpose is to imply you're an outsider. I often feel like, for example, when people ask where are you from, sometimes that can feel really comforting and empowering, and sometimes I can feel like someone is implying that you're not Australian enough, even if they don't mean it. So generally, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about my culture or talk about my identity, and not being assumed for me. But yeah, it depends on how it's communicated.
Honestly, I find it quite refreshing that people show interest because of the stigma that's been around myself, my culture and my people for so many years.
It makes me feel proud that people are sort of going to the effort and asking about sort of what we eat and how our culture is at home, and sort of what we do and what we like to do with family and food and friends.
It depends on the context. I don't know that I think it really came up when I was in high school and your ethnicity was somehow really important, and it sort of divided the social groups. But now when I'm asked, I feel like it's genuine curiosity, and it's really just based on the colour of my skin.
I think when someone asks about a culture, it's like bridging a gap. People trying to understand where you come from and what's your values, your beliefs, your understandings of the world and just your way of living. So when someone shows some interest in my culture, or they're trying to know where I'm from, I feel proud and I feel privileged to explain to them where I'm from.
It does obviously feel really nice when someone respects what defines you as you, where you come from, what you identify as. I think it's really heartwarming. You feel more welcome, you feel more included, you feel more able to participate and engage and interact, and more curious about other people and what they bring to the table as well. Even when I think about not just whether someone understands your culture, but if they just have this intention to respect you regardless, I think that's just as powerful.
I actually get quite excited and happy that people look past the colour of your skin and actually want to know about your background and your culture.
It makes me feel privileged that I have my culture, because with previous negative experiences as a child, I really rejected it, and those memories really resonate with me throughout, even into adulthood. So when someone asks me about my culture and they're genuinely interested, it makes me sort of feel pangs of pride of being Filipino, which is something that I don't feel often.
Because with everything that's happening now, you feel a bit more held back, not expressing sort of your background or what you are, because you feel like you may be judged or, ridiculed, I guess, or, so when someone asks genuinely about your culture and they're genuinely asking, it makes you feel like, you tend to want to share it and confidently share it, and share the beauty of it and the love and the good of behind the culture.
When they listen, when they really pay attention, I feel I could give more, because with the South Sudanese culture, I could sit here and talk for about 3 weeks straight. That's how deep the culture could go. Sometimes when people ask a very simple question, I can just give a broad understanding of what the South Sudanese culture is, but once they show interest, then I'm able to explain more, I'm able to elaborate more, and also talk about the historical context of where the South Sudanese people are coming from.
One of the times I felt really respected was when I was about to meet a counsellor from City of Ryde, and he was about to handshake, but because I'm a Muslim, sometimes we don't handshake out of modesty and gender rules, and instead I did this, which is a hand to heart out of I respect you, and I'm not shaking your hand, but I still respect you. And I found the next time I met that person several months later, they did the same thing and they initiated that. And I felt that was really encouraging, that they had acknowledged what is important to me. They acknowledged that it's a form of respect. It's still a cultural symbol, and it was a positive way to show rapport and trust and respect.
I have a colleague who's Greek, and we went to meet with some community elders, and usually with our culture we introduce ourselves and tell people where we come from, and out of the blue she actually introduced her name and the fact that she was Greek from Cyprus, and the elders actually got quite happy, and I was actually quite taken back that she brought her culture into part of our cultural meeting, and I thought that was quite amazing, and I don't think I'll ever forget it.
I had one situation where a person asked me, where you from? And I told him I'm from South Sudan. And they're like, yeah, I know that, but where exactly are you from in South Sudan in terms of the Lake State? Are you from the Lake State? I was quite amazed, because when you ask about Lake State, it's like asking someone from New South Wales, but not only that, asking them, are you from the western suburb of New South Wales? So to me, that person asked a specific question. So it shows that they know something, they know about South Sudan, they probably heard about it or read about it or researched about it.
There was a time when I moved to Canberra, I wanted a bit of a change, and I was with a group of guys, predominantly white background, and we were sitting down having something to eat at a restaurant, and then the pork came on the table, and everyone started sort of, putting it in the plates. One of the guys putting all our plates, and I sort of went, I don't want to eat that. And I was lucky enough, one of the guys sort of travelled around the world and sort of knew my background and my religion, and said, no, Toufic's not eating that. And said, okay, so he pulled out the plate, and then he looked at me and he was like, no, give him a new plate. So it was nice that someone took in consideration and was sort of aware, And I think it's more sort of being able to travel and see different nationalities, religions, and he understood. I respected that person a lot more, and I showed a lot more, I guess, more care, more sort of, it felt like there's more respect.
I recall a memory of going to the Archibald Prize in 2009. It was a really poignant experience for me in terms of my art practice, and I saw a painting by David Griggs, who's a white Australian man, and he painted a portrait of himself with a lot of Filipino references. It sort of caught my eye straight away, and when I read the blurb, I read that he'd been living and working in Manila for many years, and that really hit me as an artist and as an Australian Filipina. It sort of made me feel guilty that I hadn't accessed my Filipino heritage at all, whereas this Australian man, white man, has gone and chosen to live there, and has really taken on the culture, and it's nourished his practice. And from that moment, that's when my practice shifted from what I was previously doing into this investigation of my cultural identity.
I think if you come from a sincere place, you don't come from a place of judgment, you don't imply that you know better than a person, you don't come across as patronising, you're already in a good position. It doesn't matter how much you know about different cultures or your previous experience, but if you show respect and integrity and assume all people have dignity and have the right to be themselves, you're already in a good position. I think if you're open-minded, if you're critically reflective, you're more likely to pick up if there's ever a time that maybe you're saying something that could come across as a bit offensive or a bit hurtful or a bit insensitive.
My advice to everybody is just be nice and appreciate people for who they are as individuals and not based on the colour of their skin, whether it's Aboriginal people or people from any other country, religion, background, culture. Just be humane and treat people how you would like to be treated and appreciated as a person. I
would say be open-minded, listen carefully and show more interest, because some of the culture they are relevant. It could be to your own culture as well. You might be amazed how we are all interconnected, and culture is just a beautiful thing because it's the way that society believes in certain things once you understand that, you'll be able to interact or even work with them more in a level that they understand.
Open your eyes and see that this country is based on multiculturalism. It's not based on sort of, you're not expected to sort of everyone be the same. Everyone's different in a unique way, and respect that in that sense, and sort of, read more, travel more, see what the world has to offer.
Culture is such a treasure, and it's fascinating to learn about everyone else's cultures. A lot of cultural traditions cross over, and a lot of them are quite different. So it sort of brings us all together with all our differences, and I just think it's a real valuable thing to learn about each other's cultures, respectfully, of course.